Hey everybody, here again, checking in again today. Made it another day. Glad to see some of you back here with me. Um, One of the things when you're struggling with this disease, uh, one of the things that I discovered in my study of the world around me and myself and how I fit into it is if you realized, like, really let yourself realize how much people operate on projection versus reflection, you would learn to take very few things in this world personally. Um, there's this saying, and I forget where it originated, otherwise I would cite it. But there's like videos out there, you can find it. Um, a lot of people attribute to malice what is actually explained by ignorance. And remember, because a lot of people get triggered by the word ignorance. All ignorance is a lack of knowledge, meaning um, you can't do better until you know better. And a lot of people just don't know better. So until they know better, they can't do better. Um, so yeah, when you're in that mindset, like yesterday I was talking about the attitude of gratitude, or the day before. I'm kind of losing track, to be honest. Um, the attitude of gratitude, that's a training process. Like when you see something that activates that cognitive bias and you feel it registering to that depression, remember to take a second and go back to the interaction and look at it and, like, was that really a personal issue, or was that somebody just having a bad day in a hurry? Just blissfully unaware of the world around them. That's what I see a lot of in the world is they say ignorance is bliss, and it's true. I've said it before. You look at the community like Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, they all talk about the things you see in the world. To be funny, you had to be smart, but to be smart, you see things that tend to make you unhappy. So you have to be aware of that. You know, again, I commented yesterday. I try not to do a lot of biblical references because I know that turns a lot of people off, and that's not what we're trying to do here. But forgive them; they know not what they do. That there is a lot of truth in that. Um, and that's an important thing. You have to practice forgiveness at every chance you get. And it's for two reasons. It's a double edged sword. One, forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. You already have enough weight in your mind right now. You need to forgive everything. Not forget, because we're getting to that. But forgive everything. And when you get in the habit of forgiving everything, you will find it easier later to forgive yourself. Because in this journey, this study, this rediscovery of who you are to get out of this hole, there's going to be some times that, again, you can't do better until you know better. But once you know better, you kind of kick yourself for not doing better before, and it's okay. It's okay. The only time it's not okay is when you do know better and you still choose not to do better. That's when you're messed up. We live in a world that loves boxes and labels. And, if I'm being honest, I love boxes and labels too. In my wood shop, All my tools, all my supplies, my materials. I'm very organized. I do that for the sake of efficiency. But boxes and labels are for things that you want to store, things that you want to tuck aside but have on hand. We're people. We don't get, tucked aside like that, or we shouldn't. That's one of the things I was talking about the other day. One of the truths I discovered. The ways that we have been literally forced to live in this society is not how humans are supposed to live. That's why depression is so rampant, because we're being forced to live in ways that go against everything in our nature. And this is a symptom, a byproduct of that. But again, it's one thing if you want to use boxes and labels to get your stuff together, that's fine. But once it's orderly, if you don't need it, toss it. The biggest favor I think I did myself, and I highly recommend it, but don't just fly off the handle after I say this, because there's a caveat, a flip side to it, is the day I realized that I didn't actually fit in the box that the world wanted me, to put me in. I climbed out of that son of a bitch, stomped a mud hole in it, pissed on it for the extra relief, and then burned it so they couldn't use it to put on anyone else. Like, you have to, I said it the other day, nobody is coming to save you. Again, not because they don't care, but because they don't know how. You have to save yourself. It's not a punishment. It's just an unfortunate law of the universe. It's something that you have to do alone. You can have support, you can have backup, you can have cheerleaders, and that is all good. It is helpful. It's great to have a good support system. Don't knock it, but in the end, the truth is that moment, that epiphany, that's only for you. You don't do that as a group. You do that as an individual. And it's ironic because the disease makes you feel lonely when you're not alone. But then once you become somebody that you can, truly love and appreciate and respect, then you have the patience for that. And I don't know, life is full of ironies. I'm a huge fan of the yin-yang theory, where you can always find something's meaning in its opposite. I say that all the time. My absolute definition of justice is the absence of injustice. Again, we live in a world full of rules, but every rule has an exception. Where does that make sense? No. If it's a need for it to be a rule, then there is no exception to it. But again, that's one of those tricks that they've taught us, those things that they've done through repetition, that we just acclimate ourselves to, and we start to accept the unacceptable. And again, that is, a big part of this is what triggers it is you start to accept the unacceptable, and then the weight, all that extra weight that you carry, that bearing down, is what triggers this to happen, this depression. And again, just having, don't get me wrong, awareness is a big part of the battle, but it is not automatic victory. because you have to sit with it. You have to study it. You have to understand it, because you can't change it, not effectively anyway, without understanding it. Everything that you're sitting with right now, sit with it. You have essentially nothing better to do. That was the case with me. I was in such a funk, I couldn't function. And I got to a point where I decided not to waste the time. If I was going to be sitting there wallowing in self-pity and just hating myself, that was boring. I didn't want to just sit there and again accept the unacceptable. And that's what got me started on this journey of self-discovery and of getting to know the real me. And I think, that's the goal. That's kind of the revelation. Like, the more I try not to give credence to false hope. I have, fallen into that myself a few times. Don't do that self-sabotaging prophecy where, you hear about it. It's called self-fulfilling prophecy. It's where you tell yourself something so much that you, whether it's true or not, you believe it enough and you make it truth. If you're sitting there telling yourself, I am not good enough, I will not get better, guess what? You won't feel good enough and you will not get better. That's just the point blank end of it. Sometimes, I used to always hate the advice of fake it till you make it. But sometimes you do have to fake it until you can make it. Because you can't let yourself fall into the bad habits, the beating yourself up all the time. It does no good. Again, accountability is not about blame. It is not about punishment. It is about coming to realization so that you can effectively change what actually needs to change. And I think we're going to end it here with that, because that is a potent revelation. So hopefully I'll see everybody again tomorrow. And until then, have a good one. Keep coming back.